Hello, my name is Denise Eide. Today we're going to discover the first two spelling rules as taught in Uncovering the Logic of English. These are two of my favorite spelling rules, and I hope they help you as much as they have helped me to understand the logic of English. Before we begin, we need to know that the C says two sounds. It says k as in cat, that's the hard sound, k. And it says s as in century, that's the soft sound, s. And there's a rule which helps to govern when C will say its hard sound, k, and when it says its soft sound, s. And I'll help you to discover that rule today. Look at the words written on the screen. Notice, when is C softening to s in each of these words? In the first column, C is softening to s before an E, as in cent, center, cell, absence, and space. In the second column, C is softening to s before an I, as in cider, circus, cinema, exercise, and recital. And in the final column, it's softening to s before a Y, as in cylinder, cycle, cypress, bouncy, and spicy. The spelling rule, therefore, says that C always softens to s when followed by an E, I, or Y. But what happens to the C when it's before another vowel, such as A, O, or U? Notice C says its hard sound, k, as in cat, cold, and cut. And when C is before a consonant, it also says its hard sound, k, as in clap, crane, and act. C also says k at the end of the word, as in arc, toxic, and comic. Therefore, our spelling rule says C always softens to s when followed by an E, I, or Y. Otherwise, C says k. Knowing this rule helps to explain words such as circus, where C is saying both its soft and its hard sound. Many people will use words like circus to say, isn't English crazy and illogical? However, now that you know this rule, you can understand why it softens to s at the beginning in circus and why it says k as the second sound in circus. Knowing this rule also helps to explain more than 6,000 words alone where C softens to s. These words are all Latin roots, and they're much more difficult often for students to learn and to master in reading. So knowing to look for the E, I, or Y after the C helps students to pronounce and read these words more accurately. In addition, knowing that C softens to s before an E, I, or Y helps prepare a student to learn any Latin-based language, for that is a Latin rule, which is carried over into all the languages which have Latin roots in them. Our second rule is related to the first. It's related, and we need to know that the phonogram G says two sounds. It says G and J. And we'll now discover when G will soften to its second sound, J. Notice in these words, G is saying its soft sound J before an E, as in germ, angelic, general, gem, and large. It's softening to J before an I, as in ginger, agile, giant, margin, and biologist, and before a Y, as in apology, biology, allergy, gymnast, and theology. However, does G always say its soft sound J before an E, I, or Y? This second list will show you that it does not. Sometimes G says its hard sound, as in get, anger, geese, gecko, digger, giggle, gift, gimmick, give, girl, and before a Y, as in muggy, foggy, doggy, piggy, and gynecology. So G may soften to J when followed by an E, I, or Y. Does it always? No. However, it may. What does G say before an A, O, or U? It says its hard sound, G, as in gap, goat, and begun. Before a consonant, it also says its hard sound, as in glad, magnet, and grain. And at the end of the word, G will always say its hard sound, as in egg, leg, and crag. So the full spelling rule reads, G may soften to J when followed by an E, I, or Y. Otherwise, G says G. These two rules, C softens to s before E, I, and Y, and G may soften to J before E, I, and Y, explain tens of thousands of English words. Knowing these two rules helps to explain the logic of English.